Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well. So today's look is one of the ones where I sat down with an idea in mind and then it just went so far from what I planned to do, but actually ended up turning out better than my original idea. This video is my second video sponsored by Mehron this year, so you will be able to find all of the Mehron products I used in this video down in the description, so make sure you check that out if you're after any Halloween supplies. So I'm starting by mapping out the shapes with a white eyeliner. You can just use something similar to your skin tone. I'm obviously very pale, so white works just fine for me. I already have a cushion foundation on my skin, my brows are done, and I have a bit of leftover eye makeup too. I thought it would just be nice to do a look that you can pop on over the top of your day makeup or whatever if you have like a party in the evening and you're going straight from work or school or something. Next, I'm using a lilac face paint and I'm starting to fill in the eye sockets. I went around the edges first, keeping the outer edge quite sharp, and then I used a damp brush, just a damp brush with no paint on it, just to feather those edges inwards, kind of like a watercolour effect. Then I did exactly the same thing with the nose holes, and I outlined the cheekbones with the same lilac colour too, but this one I allowed the colour to be a little bit stronger. Next, I'm throwing down a base of white for the teeth and I'm outlining it with that purple shade again. I'm going to make the teeth finish just above the bottom of my lip, the start of my lip. I don't know how you would describe this. The bit where the mouth hole begins. I didn't want the moisture to remove any of that water-based paint, so just having it a little bit above will help with that. Or you could put like a liquid lipstick down or something. Next, I'm going to introduce that beautiful baby blue shade into the look, and I'm going to bring that around the forehead and along the edges of the cheek outline for now. These paints are super pigmented, which is great, but it's too much for the soft shading that I wanted today, so I'm actually applying the paints quite watered down and even lifting some of it off with a sponge. It pulls everything together and looks nice if you layer the purple around the edge here too, again with the watered down paint. And then because it's quite watery, it's going to pull up some of that blue, maybe it'll remove it in some places, in some areas they're going to mix together. Next, I added a darker purple around the edges of the eye sockets to give the illusion of a bit of depth. Again, I'm keeping the edges nice and crisp, and then I'm using the wet brush to kind of messily blend that in towards the eye. You can also add in some of that purple paint while the skin is wet if you're losing some of that colour intensity. Going back to that blue again, this time I'm going to take it around the eye sockets, and I also applied a white underneath the brow too. Then I did the same thing that I did on the eyes with the dark purple feathering inwards on the nose. Now, whenever I use pastel colours, I always have to include a yellow. I think yellow might be my favourite colour nowadays. It might have replaced the purple for me. It's going to look slightly out of place when you first apply it, but once you add the paint splatters later on, it all comes together. Then on each tooth, I did a little bit of shading on each side. On one side I did yellow, on the other side I did blue, and then in the centre I added a little bit of white to help raise that centre up and make the teeth look a little bit more dimensional and not quite as flat. Here I'm adding a little bit of shading between each tooth. I just do a little V shape and then blend it out. Again, it's just going to help raise the teeth slightly. And of course you want to go back in and clean up the purple lines in between the teeth. So with the colours I'd used so far, I really wanted to include some pink in the look as well because I just think it goes perfectly with these colours. Since this turned out to be quite a pretty skull, I decided to add the pink through doing a blush as like brush strokes. Next I'm going to add a white highlight, mostly in like brush strokes. I like the mixture of having the nice soft, almost watercolour like shading on the edges, and then the rough kind of brush strokes, and then eventually the paint splatters as well. I really like the mixture of textures. So first I'm going to do some controlled paint splatters, and you can just blob the paint on if you pile it onto your brush and then dot it on and then pull it down. Next you're going to need a toothbrush or a brush that you can easily flick paint onto your face with. Harder bristles usually work out better here. And now you just want to go ahead and throw paint at your face basically. Apply the blue over the blue, the pink over the pink, and so on. It looks nice if some of them overlap as well. I ended up adding some of the dark purple that I used around the eyes and the nose in between the teeth as well. I think because there was so much going on in the face now, it just needed a little bit more contrast down there. Next, I'm going to add some cracks coming from the eyes. I probably should have done this before I did the paint splatters, but it is not the end of the world. You can just add more on top of it. This time I think it looks better if that purple is more solid, because then it looks more like a crack, you know, it has depth to it. So don't water it down like we were doing before. For the lips, feel free to use a liquid lipstick or something if you wanted it to last. I just used the same pink that I used on my cheeks because I was washing this look right off. So I filled in the lips, I added a little bit of a white highlight, and then I removed some of the colour in the centre as well. I was happy enough to just leave it here, but if you're more comfortable wearing eye makeup and you want lashes and stuff, then I'm sure it's going to look awesome. I really hope you enjoyed this video and you can pull some inspiration from it. Please make sure you show me. If you do, you can tag me on Instagram or send it to me on Twitter. I love creeping through my tags, so if you do it, I'll see it. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll speak to you next time.